everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark. Today I want to talk about the most important thing that you need to do on Poshmark besides listing. This is something that gets overlooked by so many people and I can't stress it enough how important it is, so we're going to talk about what it is and how to do it. So if this is something that interests you, please feel free to keep watching and also give this video a like if you like this kind of content, and also make sure that you're subscribed because you don't want to miss the future reselling content that I do. I do helpful tips like this every single week, so I'd love to have you stick around for more. But without further ado, let's get right into today's video. So what is the most important thing to do on Poshmark besides listing new items? It is to relist your old items. This is so important and it does not get talked about enough, and people I think don't really understand what it means to relist and why it's so important. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how you can relist your items and how that will make them sell so much quicker. So first, let's talk about what it means to relist your item. So this means that you are basically making a duplicate copy of a listing that you already have currently on Poshmark and you're relisting it in a whole new listing. This is important because items get stale on Poshmark, and when they sit for longer than 60 days, they become stale. And this means that it's going to have a harder time to sell because it might not be showing up in the feeds or the searches. So an item can still sell if it's been sitting for longer than 60 days, but it's not going to show up at the top of the feeds. Kind of like it's not going to have like Google priority in search. So it's very important to be relisting those items that are stale, and it will actually make them sell a lot quicker. So how you relist, there are multiple ways you can do this. I think there are 3 good ways to do this, and I think it's important to do at least one of them, and maybe you could do, multiple ways if you want. So the first most basic way to relist an item, and this is actually what I used to do way back when, is I used to just copy, I would take the screenshots of the listings, of the pictures that are currently there. So I would just screenshot them on my phone, and then I would copy the title and the description, and then open up a new listing, copy those screenshots in and, fit them to size. And then I would just paste the description and the title in the 2 spots, and then I'd just fill out the rest of the description and fill out, the size, the fit, all of that. And then I would just click list. So this is a great way to relist because it's creating a brand new listing, which will make it show up in the new items feed. However, it is a little bit time consuming. It is a little bit tedious to be doing this, and so I don't really recommend doing this, but it is a good way to do it if you don't have any other better way. Like I said, this is how I relisted in the beginning, and it kind of takes a lot of time to do this, and it's kind of like, repetitive in a way, but it definitely will help you get those items relisted. So you could definitely try this out. Another way to relist your items is, and this is kind of more of like an upgrade from that. So all 3 of these are just going to go up in a list from basic to better. So the second way you can relist is actually using the copy listing feature on Poshmark. So if you go to edit your listing, all the way at the bottom, you'll scroll down and you'll see a button at the bottom that says copy listing. If you click on this button, it'll basically duplicate the listing that you currently have. So it'll open a new template for basically an entire new listing, and it'll actually write copy in the title. So you probably want to remove that because I don't really recommend having that because it's going to make the item not really searchable. So it's going to put copy in the title, and everything else is going to be the exact same as your current listing. So all the pictures are going to be there, the description, the title, and all of the information below, and the current price is going to be there as well. So if you want to change the price, if you want to change the pictures a little bit, you can, but all you have to do before you hit list on this new copied listing is just delete copy from the title, and you're good to go and post this as a new listing. So now the only downside with doing this is, while it's a lot easier than, taking the screenshots and redoing it yourself, this is not as effective if you don't do it after that 60-day mark. While the first one you can do whenever you want because you're creating an entirely new listing, this second one you have to do after 60 days, or the item is not going to show up in the new items feed, it's not going to show up in the fresh feed, and therefore it's going to kind of not be as useful or helpful of a relist as it would be if it was listed after that 60-day mark. So it is so important to kind of remember how long an item has been sitting. And I know that's tricky, and a lot of people always ask me, how do you determine how long an item has been sitting on Poshmark? And I actually don't really know the answer to this question. So for me, this is not really the best option, And I only kind of use this in a pinch because again, it's not really that effective and it doesn't do the job that you really want it to do. So I don't really recommend doing this either. I actually really recommend my third way of relisting, which involves having a VA. So if you don't already have a VA and you're not already on the VA train, a VA is a virtual assistant, and it basically does all this hard work for you, and you don't have to worry about a thing. You don't have to worry about knowing how long an item has been sitting for. You don't have to worry about, you know, copying the listing, taking the screenshots, retitling the item, getting rid of that copy out of the description, all of that. All of this is done for you with the VA with just a click of the button. So what you do is, for me, I have Posture VA and I just relist 5 items each day. So I take items that have been sitting for a very long time, get them relisted, and my VA will tell me what items have been sitting for longer than 60 days, so I don't have to figure that out. You could actually plug in, like if you want to do items that have been sitting longer than 90 days or any amount of time, you can plug that in yourself to figure that out. But I always do 60 days because that's kind of the threshold. And so I say, relist 5 items that have been sitting longer than 60 days, and it will relist those items for me, and it gets rid of the original listing and it copies it into a new listing and does not put copy in the title. So it basically does all that hard work for you, and it takes maybe 2 minutes tops for, you know, the couple listings that you have. It goes really quick, and it really is effective because, again, this is going to make those items show up in the new items feed, so it's going to be fresh items that people can see, and it's going to do all the hard work for you. So if you're not already using your VA to relist, or if you're not already using a VA in general, I definitely recommend you could use my code. I'll put it right here on the screen and I'll put it in the description as well. I highly recommend giving a VA a try. Not only is it good for relisting, it's also good for everything else that you do on Poshmark. The sharing, the following, the sending offers. It's good for basically everything. So I use it for everything, but also I just love using it for relisting and delisting because, like I mentioned earlier, there's no real good way to determine how long an item has been sitting for. And if you guess and you're wrong and it hasn't been sitting for longer than 60 days, it's not going to be as effective to relist the item. So again, like I said, it is so important to be relisting your items. I can't really stress it enough. People don't believe it until they actually start relisting their items and see that, you know, they're getting more and more sales. And actually, I had a great example of this the other day. I had an item that I listed a couple months back. It was a Vera Bradley purse, shoulder bag, and it was sitting. It wasn't really getting a lot of attention. I think it had maybe 1 or 2 likes the entire time it was listed. And my VA relisted it for me yesterday, and it sold actually within like minutes of it being relisted. And I actually see this happen a lot, and I know other people have this happen a lot too. I made a post about this the other day on a Facebook group that I'm in, and I had so many people commenting saying that relisting is so important and that it really does generate more sales. So I can't stress enough how important it is to relist your items, and I can't stress enough how important it is to do it correctly. And so I just wanted to make this video because I know a lot of people are confused what it really means to relist, how you can relist, and different ways to do it. So I hope this kind of helped you understand that there are different ways that you can relist your items. There are some that are more effective than others, some that are easier than others, but regardless of how you do it, as long as you relist and as long as it's after that 60-day mark, if you're going to use that copy listing feature, then you will be good and your items will be relisted. And this will help you make those sales quicker, and it'll get those stale items sold. I had so many items over time that were just stale, they were sitting for so long, and as soon as it was relisted, it kind of just changed the game and it sold the item. And again, it has nothing to do with, you know, changing the title, changing the pictures. I mean, you can do that if you really want to, but you don't have to. The item will still sell because it's being pushed into the Fresh Eyes feed. So it really makes a huge difference to do this. And it's important to understand it correctly because if you don't, like I said, it's not going to be as effective. So I really can't recommend enough to relist those items, get those sale listings going. And if you have time, you can actually do more than 5 in a day. Actually, with the VA, you can just say, you know, relist 10 items, relist 15, really whatever you have. I have about 440 items in my closet right now. And so doing 5 every day, it leaves me to have enough to do on a daily basis. And I never really run out of items. But again, it's so important to be relisting those items because all of those items that I have had some of them listed for years. And so if I relist them, it gives them a chance to finally sell. And so there's a lot of items that I want to get rid of. So if they're going to sell by relisting them and all I have to do is click a button, why not do it? So if you don't already relist, definitely start relisting now. It is so important to do. And like I said, you could follow any of these 3 methods and you'll have great success. So if you want to see another video on different tricks that you should be following on Poshmark to make more sales, you can click right here. And if you want to see how January was for me in terms of sales, and did I make a lot of sales? Did I have a lot of success? What was, my driving factors for making my sales? You can click right here. But until next time, I'll see you then.